Good day, my friend. This is a very early version of this thing of ours. Normally, we meet every day, daily at 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. Right now, it's a beautiful and crisp 6 a.m. in New York City. Beautiful 52 degrees here in the city. I have a particular legal matter that I must attend to in my other life. However, I would not let this day go by without explaining to you why we need to be how do I say this? Well, to explain the obvious. There is, as you know, an absolute incredible fascination over that which is happening regarding the whole Fani Willis case. And it is something that the reason why I love it is that it is so complicated. And the reason why I say it's complicated is that just when I think I have figured it out enough, just when I figure, okay, we've done everything there is to say, we've explored this for what it is, I watch and I'm thinking, no, that's not it. There's something else here. There's something else which is incredibly important. Because what we're seeing here is something which is fascinating. Every now and then, prosecutors are put sort of on trial, sort of by virtue of maybe what their motivation is. You know, who are these prosecutors? Who are these people? Marcia Clark, Christopher Darden. Remember that during the OJ case? Nobody thought they were exceedingly, incompetent. They did some things strategically. Remember one time when Marcia Clark wanted to put on the battered wife syndrome defense, and they said, no, don't do that. Don't do this. Don't do this, because if you do this, you're going to be talking to a large jury pool of African American women whose views, and this is what was said then, please, this is not my thought at all. I'm telling you what was said then. Many of the jury advisors and analysts believed that if you were to go and you were to suggest that O.J. Simpson was violent, and that violence necessarily escalates to that of murder, many of these potential black jurors, black women, would say, no, I know about domestic violence, and it does not end in murder necessarily. It does not end in murder. It does not. You see what I'm saying? So that may work in Des Moines, but it's not going to work in South Central or whatever. Okay, that was an argument, but that was not a competence argument. That was more of a strategy and does it work? This is something that is competence, and we never really realize. Sometimes if you go to if you can go to different parts of the country, you can see what's going on, and you can look at, for example, the level of how do I say this? The level of talent in various aspects. When somebody spends their entire career as a state prosecutor, God bless them, because we need them. But somebody who foregoes private practice, bigger bucks, it says something. Not in a bad. I know it sounds like I'm intimating. Like, what is this tonight? It means different. It means different kind of things. It means somebody who. There are some people I know who love the routinized world. They feel like it's almost it's a kind of a safe bet. You can only go so far. You're going to be a state prosecutor. You're not going to make a lot of money. But, there are benefits in retirement, all this other kind of jazz. So, people are different, and you do get some great talent. You get really good talent in the public defender's office, legal aid. Oh, man. Because believe me, it's much easier to be a prosecutor than it is a defense lawyer. Very much easier. Why? You get to pick the case. You get to pick the case. You're the one who says, okay, we're going to pick this one. I'm going to pick this one. We're going to charge it. this as a burglary, this is a trespass, this is a murder, this is a murder too, this is a manslaughter, this is a burglary, this is an attempt. You get to pick it. You get to weigh it. You get to figure out what's going on, and then you decide, okay, this is what we're going to do. Defense lawyer just gets it. Defense lawyer has no say in anything. You are stuck. And when you are a public defender, you get the worst defendants in the worst cases there is. Do you know that sometimes, for example, if you get a gunshot wound, the best place in New York to go is Bellevue Hospital. It's kind of like it's not, Cornell Weill and, Mount Sinai and Columbia Teacher. No. They don't get gunshot wounds. If you get gunshot wounds, you want to go to this kind of a public sort of state hospital, Bellevue, where they used to have the crazy people and still do. Those are the gunshot wounds people. Those, they know it. So sometimes when you're in court, you get to learn MASH unit stuff. And there are different levels of this. There are folks like, this guy, what's his name? Is it Weissman? Some of these fancy schmancy federal prosecutors would get eaten up alive as a street lawyer. They'd be destroyed because you meet some really, it's a different world. And I love it. That to me is the most interesting. There's something raucous about this world. But normally the prosecutor is beyond reproach. The prosecutor, the DA, the elected official, is the person who very rarely tries the case and very rarely becomes a part of the issue. Very rarely. We had a guy, Robert Morgenthau, who years ago was our main DA in New York. And then there was Cy Vance, who was actually not that bad, pretty good, kind of kept things quiet. He was good as a DA. Now we have Alvin Bragg, different story, but doesn't really insinuate himself. Tish James is the Attorney General. She's in court or was in court regarding Trump. But so normally those people do not become the subject of the prosecution. It just doesn't happen until this. And we've never seen anything like this. Never, ever, never seen anything even remotely like this. That's the thing which is the most, and I want you to see this. I want you to grasp it. This doesn't happen. And then they have one person after another. You realize this was a teeming cauldron of incompetence. People who figured they had their hand in the till. And by the way, let me say this to you. Let me remind you of something. Got to get this coffee going. This is the most important beverage of the day. Even if you're an incompetent rube like Fani Willis, even if you're completely just devoid of anything even remotely appearing to be beneficial or redeeming, even though that may be the case, you still have people who work for you, who've been there forever. Your robbery division, your major crimes division, your sex trafficking, they handle the cases. They know what they're doing. You're kind of like driving the bus, so to speak, but they know what they're doing. They're really, really good. They are excellent. They are most expert in doing things. So you don't really need, normally Fanny Willis, the DA doesn't become involved in this. That's the part which is this is the part I'm trying to explain to you. You don't see the district attorney. You don't really see them there. I mean, they're there, but not really, because you've got these generals who are there. Dwight Eisenhower is out on the front line during World War II. He was the general. So that's number one. Number two, everybody knows to an extent, well, there's a little nepotism, a little people. Well, sometimes you'll see people who hire their own friends and people there, I don't know, people they're acquainted with, maybe friends from their walk of life. I mean, there's you'll see it. I do not know anything about the office of the Fulton County, but 3 people: Fani Willis, Nathan Wade, special prosecutor. This goes to show you how stupid this was. Now, Terrence Bradley, this jadrul yesterday, who is an imbecile, he should have his ticket pulled just because I don't think he can drive a car, much less be a lawyer. I don't think he knows anything. I don't think he understands what's going on. I really don't. But he's not even. He doesn't work for the. I mean, he might have been some tangential thing, but Wade, Nathan Wade, was a special prosecutor. This guy had no experience, but he was pulled to work with her in the biggest case, not only of her career, but maybe in recent history. Okay, let me just say that to you. In recent history. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? In recent history, this is bigger than anything anybody's ever seen before. That's number one. Now, the thing that's fascinating is that all Fani Willis had to do was say, yep, I had sex with that guy. We were like wild weasels together. We had booty calls in the middle of the night, whatever it is. Yeah. Yep. That would have been the end of it. And you can tell this Judge McAfee is saying to himself, how do I get out of it? What do I do? Because he's thinking, I don't want to screw up my political career. He's got, think about this. He's looking at the future, his future. He thought maybe governor, maybe state Supreme Court judge appointed by a governor, maybe federal district court. Maybe, who knows? I play my cards right. You know what I mean? I'm the judge who delivers it, who sentences. By the way, remember, they want the first judge to sentence Trump to jail, writes his own ticket. That's the judge who sentenced the president. He will be forever in the history books. The first judge to sentence a former president to jail, to prison. They are clamoring for this. They cannot wait for this. They cannot wait for this. This is the biggest thing anybody's ever even imagined. Don't think about that. Don't say, no, there's no way Trump can go to prison. Oh, yes, there is. Oh, yes, there is. And they are dying for this. You may think it's terrible, but I promise you, this guy will never buy a drink in a Democratic bar ever again. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. This has deteriorated into something that is so insoluble. I don't think anything can be done to resurrect it at all. I don't think anything can be done to resurrect it in the least. I don't think anything can be done to resurrect it in the least. That's all I'm saying. Period. End of discussion. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Most important thing in the world. Most important thing in the world. Nothing but nothing but nothing. Now, here's what we need to do, and this is what we need to address. The judge most probably has to recuse this office. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no way around it. There is no way that this judge could possibly ever, in any way whatsoever, not disqualify this district attorney's office. Period. End of discussion. Do you hear me? No way. The reason is the judge could theoretically say, look, I can't, I'm not going to disqualify her because, frankly, it doesn't rise to the occasion of in any way affecting any of the defendant's rights. She has no stake in the case, blah, blah, blah. If you think that's going to happen, you're out of your mind. Can't. And the reason why is simply this. People, the public, society is so tired of this. They are so shocked by the arrogance of Fani Willis. They are so They have been glued to this. That this could have been done before had she just stipulated to the facts. Had she just said, "Yeah, I had it," right? And admitted what everybody knew. Just admit what everybody knew. And then they said, you can't have him as okay, fine, I made a mistake. We'll withdraw him. I'll have him. I'll take him off the case. I'll put him in some other position. He won't be whatever it is. It would have been over. People would have said, "What are you making a big deal out of this for?" Well, she hired her lover. So what? It would have been over. Nobody would have cared. There are merchant Ashley Merchant's working with her husband. I know they're defense lawyers, but it happens. There are people who are romantically involved. It doesn't. But that's not what she did. No, she fought it. She said, no, you don't understand. And they came up at first. What did it was the cash story. That's when we're off to the races. When she came up with this ridiculous story, this unbelievable story of how the cash, that's when you realize now we're into something. This is a perennial liar. This is the consummate liar. This is a pathological liar. This is an arrogant, entitled child, a mean girl brat who has gotten her way throughout her life and thinks she can do this kind of a Karen attitude. And no, this is another story altogether. That's when we're off and running. And that's when everybody took place. That's when everybody started to pay attention. And there became podcasts and people started watching this. It was interesting that I noticed, and I don't watch other people's podcasts but in the course of, my YouTube rotation will be this one. And as they'll pop up, they will kind of focus in on the story and not tell you, well, what does this mean? Okay, they laughed about that. Yeah. Nathan Wade was found out regarding this thing called CellHawk, where the particular cell data was found. Fani Willis afterwards came back and said, this device doesn't work. It's not reliable when her office uses it. I'd like all of those. You ready for this? This is important. All of those defendants who either pled guilty or were found guilty or did prior motions to dismiss based upon the reliability of CellHawk, this particular technology that was used in their case, where they alleged it wasn't reliable, it wasn't useful, it wasn't in that particular case where they were denied. You're having the DA, Fani Willis, say this CellHawk is not reliable. It's not work. Wait a minute. What was that? Can we have this again? Can we have a transcript of what you said under oath? You're saying that the cell phone tracking device, which you used against countless defendants, that your office absolutely justified and defended and warranted, and you're saying now in your case, it's not effective, that CellHawk is defective, that CellHawk doesn't necessarily mean anything good. We're going to reopen these cases. Kind of a post-conviction relief. We used to call them old 3850 motions, these horrible things. After the fact, when all else has failed, you know what? We just found newly discovered evidence. We want to go back. What was that? This warrant, this information, this conviction, fruit of the poisonous tree, Wong Sun, all these cases. You're telling me that you believe, Ms. Willis, that the cellular phone tracking technology is ineffective? That's all we needed to hear. She has no idea what she's saying. Now they're thinking, oh no, please. I guarantee you there are now this week more motions, motions to withdraw pleas, motions to try to certain timelines, motions for new trial, motions to time to file a motion for a new trial, time to renew a motion for a JOA, motion for this, and all these post-conviction, there are time constraints and the like. 30 days to file an appeal. If you find out after the fact that there's new evidence in an abundance of caution and in the manifest interest of justice, depending upon whatever the particular phrases are used in the standards in Georgia jurisprudence, who knows? Thank you. She keeps talking because her arrogance, that's the thing that's the most important. Her arrogance, this unmitigated arrogance. She doesn't care about the bigger picture. She doesn't care about Fulton County. She doesn't care about the people. She does not care. It's about her, and it's about her reputation, and it's about who she is, and it's about you. How daring to question her and her reputation, her standing in the community, her brilliance. That's what this is about. That's the thing. And that's why I would have given anything to have seen, which would not have happened, because Trump would have never taken the stand. I would have hoped not, but had this. And assuming that Judge McAfee denies the motion for disqualification and the case goes forward, which I can't see how it is. I can't. But Fanny is so stupid. She'd probably say, I want to be a part of this case versus letting her experienced trial team work on it, who know what they're doing. And can you imagine Trump on the stand in a cross-examination, a fiery, bitter cross-examination between Fani Willis and Donald Trump? Again, it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen because no defendant is going to take a stand in a case of this nature. You are seeing the American system on trial. You are seeing the American court on trial. People watching this do not understand jurisdiction for jurisdiction, state versus federal, civil versus criminal, pre-trial motions. There's no jury here. This is before a judge. This is a bench motion. This is before a judge. There's no, and even the objections yesterday, asked and answered, objection. Stop it. There's no jury here. What are you doing? I'm the judge. What are you thinking? You thinking that I can't, that I'm going to be what? I know you're trying to preserve the record, but please. Let's get to the bottom of this, all right? Stop it. This is just ridiculous. Your objections have been noted. I got it. You don't like this guy. Got it. Let's hear it. And not only that, what is perjury? Perjury is a misstatement of fact. Sometimes a prior inconsistent statement, though nobody will say it specifically, regarding a material issue in fact. Many people during court will sometimes lie or mislead regarding a collateral issue. Remember Mark Furman? Mark Furman was the police was the famous detective in the O.J. Simpson case. This is Mark Furman. And at the time with Mr. Furman, I had him on the show one time, and Mark Furman pled no contest to perjury. Mark Furman lied, theoretically, but when he said, did you ever not use the N word? And if anybody says that you use the N word, this was F. Lee Bailey. If you use the N word, would they be lying? Yes. So you never use the N word. Never did. Okay. And they have tapes of him using the N word to a woman who was writing a book where he was trying to explain this tough guy character. Anyway, I said then, and I believe, that he lied, theoretically, about a collateral matter, a matter that had nothing to do about a material issue in fact. What was that? O.J. Simpson's guilt. If he lied about a glove, if he lied about placing a glove there, yes, that would have been perjury. But if you lie about what your favorite Police album was, or whether you ever saw Golden Girls, if you lied about what your favorite color was, that's a collateral matter. That is not dealing with a material issue in fact. It has nothing to do with the issue, because people will sometimes lie and sometimes make mistakes and sometimes be inconsistent regarding issues that don't really matter. And I asked him, why did you do this? He says, I just wanted it to be done with. So all of these matters that you hear about, these lies, whether it's a lie, is it a lie? Is it perjury? Is it perjury when someone says, we never had sex, or never had a relationship before 2022? Is that perjury? It is if the material issue is when you had sex, not during the course of a trial. If something happens to come up and they add, oh, by the way, did you know, Mr. Wayne? Yes. Did you ever have sex? No, I didn't. Okay, fine. That's kind of a collateral. But when you're brought before a judge and you're in a motion to disqualify, and the sole issue that the allegations made by the defense is that you and this man had a relationship prior to 2022, and that's the issue, that's the gravamen of the issue, and you lie, it doesn't get more perjury than that. Okay? Now, dear friends, I want you to think about this. I want you to watch carefully. Remember, the goal is not necessarily to point out each little moment, because some are funny, though. Some are absolutely funny. I want you to think about the big picture of what this really means. We will see you tonight at 7 p.m. I've got a very long day ahead of me, and I'm sure you do too. Thank you so much for being not only who you are, but what you appear to be. We will see you tonight at 7 p.m. And don't forget these final words, this valedictory, this sayonara. Remember this, as we always say, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.